My name is Margaret Nakayenga, a student of MITC Milwaukee Area Technical College. I'm doing a video about my research paper. It's about child soldiers, how developed countries have brought up or have led to the development of recruiting of young children into the army. My title in the research topic states as child soldiers, a developed nation's responsibility. I was 9 years of age when I first heard of child soldiers back in Uganda. That's where I grew from. It was in 1998. I saw awful pictures in newspapers of children's lips and nose being cut off, or hands or other parts of the bodies. The name associated with the terror or brutality was Joseph Kony. Early I heard that the Holy Spirit movement of Alice Lakwena was said to stop bullets with holy water. She was believed to be a goddess who used to tell her fighters to apply water on their bodies before they could go out and fight, and bullets could not go through. She was fighting the government which had come into power before I was born. That's all I knew about Alice Lakwena until suddenly Kony came up into picture, taking up her movement, fighting for the same ideology of change of power for northern Uganda. That's actually, I realized that our teachers exaggerated the Kony figure and used the figure to intimidate us. Some of them have had no little information or had no idea about Kony. The government certainly used Kony to blame everything bad in the country on someone else, like underdevelopment, bad economy, suffering, or bad medical services. All was blamed that the financiers were going to fight or rescue northern Uganda. But I cannot forget how terrified I was about Kony. I thought he would come and abduct us dozen miles away and take us to be the wives of his men. I fear that he would come I would become a slave to a sex slave to one of his commanders, or to be a wife of his men. This information about becoming a sex slave was getting to us at the time when I was in my puberty, and it was making me to be in fear or make us more intense by them. As I grew up, I understand, and as I grew up and I got to know about Kony's crimes even more. I learned Kony recruited got most of his child soldiers, or recruited his soldiers by force. He could raid villages, burn them down, and take the young boys and girls as well, and use them as laborers, as soldiers to fight his wars or raids, and do his chores, and carry out the equipments that were used in the raiding. The girls could cook, did laundry, also served as wives to the commanders or the soldiers in the army. The boys mainly were recruited for fighting in the raiding, or in the fighting in the wars. They began by killing their families because they had no choice. Killing the family, they killed their families, and first Kony could give them drugs. They got cocaine. They could be given cocaine and marijuana. This made them emotionless and insensitive of horror. They could kill without fear, or they were heartless. They could just kill without thinking or minding or thinking. I did not think seriously about Kony and his men until I took a human rights course later on in university, and still Joseph Kony's name came up. At this later stage, I was able to discuss the role played by foreign powers who that's in my research paper. It came about, I discussed about how foreign powers who colonized African countries like Uganda, and how they exploited Uganda while seeking Africa's natural resources, also led to the child to be recruited as soldiers. Recently, I researched this. Recently, as I researched this paper, it occurred to me that the research for these natural resources is the reason why child soldier is still a main thing in the third world countries. The developed nations have introduced killer weapons which were not in existence, and these killer weapons are easy for even children to use as at the age of 4. Some, they are easy to use, they are light, they are easy to handle and use around. Before all these, before there were no killer weapons, and they were have this has made more weapons or equipment in wars, has made African countries fight each other or use those weapons to raid others or fight for development or things for equality through power. Another thing that has led to child soldiers, that's non-existence of soldiers to fight. Those are adult soldiers to fight in these wars that are existing between continents or cultures that are coming up to fight each other. So this results to recruiting of children who have no say or choice because they can't express their thoughts or said no to. If somebody, like for example, if Joseph Kony recruits them and they see how brutal he is, so that's how many children were recruited. Poor economies in most cases is a result of developed countries exploiting developing countries. This has also led to child soldiers because when they do fight for their right of expression or equality or freedom, recruiting more people in the army brings and the lack of maybe others dying through many elders or adult people dying through the wars. This leads to other people recruiting children to use them to fight their wars. This is why I believe that the issue of child soldiers is the responsibility of developing countries. That's my stand. Thank you for listening. Bye. I hope you like this.